Welcome to Turning Inward. Our intention today is to open your heart and nurture your spirit as you travel on the road without miles, moving inward on your epic and personal journey of self-discovery. I am Rebecca Polvey, your co-host, and I'm here with Dr. Vivian Carrasco. This is the fourth episode of our Spring 2015 season. We are excited to continue to share concepts from Love Being Human with you and grateful that you are here with us. Today we'll be exploring the concept of discernment together.
This podcast offers you the opportunity to explore new perspectives through compelling interviews with beautiful human beings and words of wisdom and love. This show was created to guide and inspire you. If you're looking for more meaning in your day-to-day life, if you're looking to be wowed by everyday people, if you're on a journey to joy, peace of mind, freedom, or a wild new adventure, then honey, you are in the right place. Welcome to Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, Vivian. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, I have a few questions for you today. I'm excited about our topic. I think it's an interesting one. And when I thought of discernment, I thought of it as having like insight or understanding or intuition. Maybe that little internal voice that whispers in your mind. So I feel I have discernment, but I was thinking about it. I'm not sure if it was always there or if I allowed it to develop. So, just to share as an example, I volunteer on a couple of different projects, and quite often when people will approach me to help, they'll say, I really want you for your discernment. And so I got to thinking about that when you mentioned this word, and I can't remember when that happened, that I gained that discernment. I just know that I have it. So my question to you, Vivian, is can discernment be learned? Or is that something a person has developed naturally or is just born with it?
I think it's probably all three, but I heard the first part of it and you said the voice. And I really think that what happens in a lot of times when we're trying to discern, when we're trying to sort of figure out the best, and I don't know what the definition of discernment is, but I know that it's along the lines of probably wisdom, which is our next topic. We're getting some fancy stuff in here, but what happens, right?
Yes.
But what happens is, we hear voices, I should do this, I shouldn't do that, but for you, it might be a voice, I think, but for a lot of people, you can tell the difference between your voices, between your fear voice and your discerning voice, the voice that says, that's sort of that nudge. And for me, it's less of a voice and it's more of a silence. It doesn't have a voice. Usually when it's a voice, it's like my little Vivian who's scared and I need to tell her everything's going to be okay. I might not know exactly what's going on, but it's going to be okay. So I wanted to mention that just the difference for folks, in the voice between the voice and the silence, because sometimes the voice that's trying to protect you out of fear isn't really the voice that's giving you your own insight. And then that leads me to the second part of where you actually asked the question on how we get discernment. And I have this idea that, we acquire knowledge from wherever. And then we live out that knowledge. And an easy one for you and I is in our health and well-being and how we feed our bodies. We've acquired this knowledge, and you and I exchange pictures and we know what we're cooking up, even if mine's just some burnt kale. But then we take that knowledge and we turn it into an insight. We live it, we embody it, we move it through our lived experience. And I think what you have, and the reason that people in addition to me, sort of see that idea of discernment is because it's quite easy for you to be reminded of that knowledge and insight. And, that insight is stirred up. You know how dust gets stirred up when you're sweeping or vacuuming. It's stirred up easier in you, I think. And the reason I say that is because I've had this conversation with my mom. And, we know better, but we don't always do better. You do better because you know better. When I asked my mom about that, she says, well, Vivian, it's because my heart forgets. And so this brings me to what real discernment is. And I think it's learning to remember what your soul already knows. And you do a great job of knowing and not having to recall it as much as other people do, as much as I do sometimes, especially when I'm looking at, a big old piece of chocolate cake and, or whatever it is that is someone's temptation from what they know is the best thing for them. Did that answer your question?
Yes. I'm just writing down notes, Vivian. I love a whole lot of that. I need to remember this. I never would have thought of this. I mean, I guess I know that. Maybe because I like that fear voice. That was interesting. I loved hearing that. And do better because you know better. And learning to remember what your soul already knows. I love that. That's beautiful. And I'm wondering, so I don't know if this kind of leads into my next question or not, but you have a sense that something is different or needs to be looked at a little closer. And maybe some people overanalyze or they don't trust their inner voice. I guess I don't mean now the fear voice. And is discernment, could that be a way of being more attentive or practicing mindfulness? I guess I'm going to call it.
Ooh. I'm like, ooh.
Uh-oh.
You said trust, and that stirred something up for me. But what you ended with was mindfulness, and one of the things that you and I play with a lot is words, and words have a lot of different meanings for folks. And I'm not sure if I used the example already in one of the podcasts or if I used it in one of our community calls or wherever I used it. But the idea that when I say kitchen table, my mind brings forth my kitchen table, and your mind probably brings forth your kitchen table. Mm-hmm. So when I hear mindfulness, the idea that something is full and it's in my mind overwhelms me. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather personally think of the intention as an emptiness. We want to empty ourselves of everything. And you and I talk a lot in our conversations about letting go. And this is what mindfulness does. It allows you to empty and to be fully present in what's going on now. So you're not full of, whatever happened in the past, and you're not worried about what might happen in the future, but you're living out the reality that is right now. So that's the first part I wanted to say. And I think what you started with was really magical. I think the idea, can you say it again? That first part, the trust?
Well, and I said, perhaps a person overanalyzes or doesn't trust their inner voice.
Yes. I had this conversation with David yesterday. Yesterday happened to be, you and I record on Sunday, on Mondays. And so yesterday evening, I said something to David about, this shift and this change that's happened in my life. And I've had the same conversation with you, but I think a lot of it revolves around, I trust myself more now. Mm-hmm. So that really, really resonates with me. To be discerning is to be true and honest with yourself. And for so many years, I don't think that I was. I think that, like many people in the world, we move along according to what should and what is expected, and maybe what your culture, what your society deems is appropriate for you. or, your own mind, your own conditioning. And that's not so much it for me anymore. And I think that's why now that I trust and I'm more honest with myself, it allows all of my being to integrate. And that's, again, like I said earlier, it's the Spirit moving through, within you, through you, and between us in our relationships. So I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere from there, and I didn't answer that question, but discernment is almost like the top of the pyramid, and the foundation of it begins with the truth and an honesty of you with yourself.
Oh, I think I got a lot out of that, Vivian. And and when you used the word should, I wrote that down because something popped into my head that my husband said to me. I'm not sure when, it was some few years ago. And he said, whenever you hear the word should, he said, stop and utilize critical thinking. So I guess whenever I hear the word should, that's what I do.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, I can't remember, I talk so much, but yeah, we shouldn't should all over ourselves. It's like, pooping all over ourselves. You're shooting all over yourself,
Should.
Yeah.
Vivian.
So let's use that as a takeaway homework for all our listeners and our wonderful audience. Don't should all over yourself.
That's pretty funny. So with that, I'm going to move on to question number 3.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, maybe you've answered this a couple different ways, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How does it feel, or what sense will you have in the love being human experience that you are utilizing discernment?
Ooh, I like that one. That's easy for me because a clarity of mind. If you're being discerning, your decisions will come easily. They'll come with flow. There won't be struggle around it. There won't be confusion around it. It's a clarity of mind. So if your discernment skills are, like your muscles have been flexed, in more ways than just logic that that's the right thing for you to do. Both in the short term and the long term. So there'll be lots of clarity. If the water has been muddy for a while, you've kind of looked at it and you've waited for the dust to settle so that you can see where you're stepping. Excuse me. And I think another feeling that you'll have is this sense of freedom, because again, you have this sense of grounded safety that you trust yourself to make the right decision. So freedom will be so freely available to you. And I think another one that we're all sort of not searching for but that we all naturally move towards is intimacy. When you know with distinction what your own wants and needs are, then it's easy to discern your next step. So I think when you're doing it right, those are the feelings that you'll feel. You'll feel free, you'll feel very clear, and you'll feel very intimate with your own needs and wants. You won't be. It happened to me the other day. I was at a restaurant. I knew exactly what I wanted. Almost never happens. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what texture, what flavor, and that is amazing. So, because it's not my common experience at restaurants. So I think when you're living out discernment, that's what you'll feel.
Well, Vivian, my last question today, boy, usually the questions aren't so tough for me to come up with. I think about them for a little while. But this last one, I wrote it and scratched it out and rewrote it. And I was not even going to ask it, but I think I got it now. I have this thought that love being human is like a lifestyle that needs to be practiced and maybe lives inside of all of us on certain levels, and that we need maybe discernment to recognize that there is or maybe a need to be lifted up to that next level, or to recognize that we might need that. And so I'm wondering, Vivian, are the components of love being human like a natural law that lives inside of us, kind of waiting for an awakening?
Oh, I like that. I I I like that it's almost like, okay, let me get my words together. First of all, I love the simplicity of love being human and its complexity at the same time. I don't know that it's a natural law, but I would say that when you said awakening and it's something within us, it is. It's like a seed. It's like the potential. It's part of our highest potential. We are using and teaching love being human as a way to frame and structure a positive change in the way we live our lives and in the way we show up in our relationships. And I think that's what I heard you saying. So love being human allows us to, we use the word notice a lot. I use the word notice a lot. It allows us to notice and to refine our perception so that it has more depth, it has more detail, and it has a lot more focus. And if you can imagine, you love images, don't you? When you have an image that's not the right size and you try to put it in a box that it doesn't fit, it pixelates, right?
It does.
It does. So it is hard to discern because it's not crisp, and it's not clear, and it's not, you really can't see it. It's kind of blurry. And when you refine that image and it's the right size, you could blow it up as big as you wanted to, and it would be just, it would not pixelate. It would still have depth. It would still have focus. It would still have, that detail that you're looking for. And so that is, the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. It's a lifestyle strategy and it's a daily practice, but it's a framework. And what I love about it is that it's your framework. It's my framework. It's everyone's framework. We use it to, check in. Oh, I wrote down, here in West Texas, we have hailstorms. And when a hailstorm comes, you run for protection, right? So love being human is a way you can't ever stop the storm from coming, right? You can't keep the hail from hitting. It's going to hit where it hits. But you can protect yourself. And love being human is a way for you to protect yourself, not in a way that closes you off or walls you off from the world, but in a way that, again, where that perception is more intimate, and you see and you feel and you understand the sensations, the feelings, the images. You know kind of what's coming up from within you, and you can direct it and focus it a little bit better. So it is a daily practice. It's a moment to moment practice, and I think for some folks for me, it's become a tool, a really, really special tool to move up into that, what you called it. I think you called it our potential.
Yeah, and I did the next level, or
yeah,
and I like the word awakening too. I really, I'm glad I asked the question, Vivian.
Well, the other thing that it does, when you said next level, it reminds me of lifting and of inspiration. And we talk about breath a lot in Love Being Human because, breath is that natural movement. And so Love Being Human is a natural movement. That's why we use the infinity symbol, because it moves, within and between, and it starts and ends wherever you started, So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm on this journey with you, Vivian. I love asking these questions, and I feel like, I'm open to be lifted up to a next level. So it's always a surprise what you might say.
Me too.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Vivian. And we thank our audience. Yes, and we really appreciate our audience for taking the time to listen to us today and for being with us. And if you enjoyed the conversation, we invite you to connect with us by joining our inner circle at viviancarrasco.com. And I'm going to close with a final thought from Vivian. Remember, move with purpose and take inspired action.
Thank you for joining us today here on Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian. If the show moved the needle for you, please leave an honest review in iTunes. And also make sure you cruise on over to viviancarrasco.com and join us for personal strategies and tips to help you move forward. Ciao, baby.